The Ministry of Health says that a number of doctors and nurses have been infected by the coronavirus. Also, you'll hear in this hour that 2 miners who were killed in Christmas Eve Day have been buried by police. In the region, Brazil's president is recovering from an intestinal blockage. Antigua and Barbuda's national insurance scheme has increased its contribution rate. And internationally, United States President Joe Biden says booster shots work. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
Is it a special occasion? Are you on a budget but still want a filling and also mouth-watering meal? Look no further. KFC is here for you at 9 locations and 6 drive-thrus, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, which now delivers from Shore Base to Little Diamond. Call 632-0533, 60... Is it a special occasion? Are you on a budget but still want a filling and also mouth-watering meal? Look no further. KFC is here for you at 9 locations and 6 drive-thrus, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, which now delivers from Shore Base to Little Diamond. Call 632-0533, 6080-162 or 503-3591. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. Minister of Public Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says that doctors and nurses are among those infected by what appears to be the rapidly spreading Omicron variant of the coronavirus COVID-19. He was earlier today speaking during his daily briefing.
There are a number of persons who have tested positive, both doctors and other medical staff. We have been constantly monitoring and we have taken mitigation measures. So it has not had a big impact so far on service delivery. But if more and more people get sick, well then obviously it's going to have an impact. But so far, with the persons who got sick, we're monitoring them. Most of them are either asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, and we expect that they will return to work shortly.
The health minister is assuring Guyanese that there is a countrywide contingency plan should more health workers become sickened by the viral disease. He says the plan entails shifting workers from non-critical areas to others to manage COVID-19 patients and other sick persons. He says currently there is sufficient staff to manage the public health sector. In related news, the Health Ministry says Guyana has recorded its highest number of daily COVID infections. That number is 485. Of the 62 persons hospitalized, 8 are in the intensive care unit. The figures also show that 1,715 other persons have been told to isolate themselves at home in an effort to prevent the virus from spreading. The COVID-19 death toll is now 1,058. This with the passing of 2 fully vaccinated men. One of them was 6 years old and was from Region 4 Damarara Mahaica, and the other was 38 years old and he was from East Berbice Quarantine. In the wake of fears that a highly contagious Omicron variant is in Guyana, the Health Ministry is urging Guyanese to wear specialized masks to reduce the chance of contracting the virus. The Ministry of Education says it has received thousands of personal protective equipment for distribution to students, teachers, and other staff. The more than 80,000 face shields, over 24,000 KN95 masks, over 126,000 disposable masks, 2,600 surgical gowns, and more than 6,000 face goggles were donated by SUA International. The Ministry of Education says the personal protective equipment will be donated firstly to hinterland schools before being moved to the coast and Georgetown. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education Alfred King says this is because most of the schools in Georgetown and other regions already have sufficient supplies of personal protective equipment to guard against the coronavirus. SUA International Guyana is a youth organization. 2 gold miners were stabbed to death and 2 others were injured following a drinking spree at Nassano Landing, Northwest District. 11 days after the incident, police on Tuesday reported about the incident and said that they were looking for 2 prime suspects. Those killed are 29-year-old Sherwin Goddard of Dredge Creek Upper Pomeroon River and a 21-year-old Sean France of Akawini Creek, Pomeroon. The injured have been identified as Hosea Sanley and a Devor Stall called Jobu. Mr. Stall was air-dashed to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where he remains a patient. Police identified the suspects in the incident that occurred on Christmas Eve as Kirtland Damon, called Carto or Bullet, and Thomas Kite, called Taco. No one has been arrested. Police say they have since buried the bodies and marked the location and the direction of the grave so that the bodies could be exhumed at a later date. In news from the region, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro will not need surgery after being hospitalized for an intestinal obstruction that has now been cleared. That's according to his medical team. The blockage was Bolsonaro's latest complication from a 2018 stabbing. According to the note, Bolsonaro showed satisfactory clinical improvement and will start a liquid diet on Tuesday. Doctors inserted a nasogastric tube right after his hospitalization. São Paulo's Vila Nova Star Hospital, where the far-right leader was admitted in the early hours of Monday suffering from abdominal pain, said that there was still no time frame for him being discharged. The decision not to operate on Bolsonaro came after he was re-evaluated by his doctor Antonio Macedo, who was vacationing in the Bahamas and arrived in São Paulo on Tuesday morning. Bolsonaro has undergone a series of emergency operations since being knifed during a campaign event in September 2018. In neighboring Suriname, the government there has decided to sack its chief of police. Mr. Roberto Prade was told that he'll eventually be relieved of his post, but no date has been set. Star News reports that he was informed of the decision during a meeting with Minister of Justice and Police Kenneth Amoxi. Meanwhile, the board of the Surinamese Police Union has also been received by the minister and informed of the decision. Earlier, President Chandrika Prasad Santokhi had announced that the replacement of the core leadership will be on the government's agenda in the first week of January. In Trinidad, senior police have confirmed that 11 police officers have been detained in relation to reports that an automatic weapon was stolen from a police station in December. It was reported that officers of the San Juan substation could not account for the weapon on December 28, which led to a probe by police from the Professional Standards Bureau, PSB. Police said as of Tuesday afternoon, 11 officers were assisting with inquiries. One police officer said the facts were still being gathered as there were originally conflicting reports over how the weapon went missing. The contribution rate to Antigua and Barbuda's Social Security scheme will increase this year by 0.5%. Antigua Observer reports that this will cause employers and employees to pay up to a total of 14.5% in contributions each month. The increase is part of yearly continuous adjustments that will last until 2025. The additional 0.5% is shared between the employer and the worker, and it takes the employer's contribution to 8.25%, while the employee pays 6.25%, therefore totaling 14.5% for private sector workers. The same is true for public sector employers and employees whose joint contribution amount to 13.5%. The self-employed rate remains at 10%. Although the decision to increase the revenue paid to the statutory body is not new, residents are upset and are accusing the Antigua and Barbuda Social Security Board of not being sympathetic to the economic situation in Antigua and Barbuda. Residents, displeased with the increase which takes effect this month, articulated their dissatisfaction under the board's Facebook post where the change was announced a few days ago. In a moment, we go to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of world news. But now, here is a message about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Hello, Linden, Region 10. My name is Victor Fernandez. I'm President of the Linden Chamber of Commerce and Development. And I want to encourage you to have your vaccine. You having a vaccine will save the lives of yourself and your family. So I want to encourage you, have your vaccine. It's for your benefit and your family.
Over now to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of international news.
News with Sue Montgomery. President Biden has said there's no excuse for Americans to be unvaccinated after the US registered a global record of 1 million new coronavirus cases in a day. He said it was now a pandemic of the unvaccinated and urged those already vaccinated to get boosted.
Booster shots work. They significantly increase the protection. They provide the highest level of protection against Omicron. Booster shots are free, they're safe, and available. And at over 90,000 sites. We have added sites, added hours, added appointments, added walk-in capacity. We have booster shots for every American in the country.
A judge in New York says he will decide soon whether or not to dismiss a civil case accusing Britain's Prince Andrew of sexual assault. The case, brought by Virginia Giuffre, alleges that as a teenager she was forced to have sex with the prince by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Neda Tawfik has more on the arguments put forward by the prince, who has always denied any wrongdoing.
What he's saying is that he is covered. He has immunity under a settlement agreement that was reached by Virginia Giuffre and Jeffrey Epstein in Florida in 2009. In court, his lawyer said that it's unquestionable that the Duke of York could have been sued at that time in that case, and therefore he qualifies as a potential other defendant that is covered in this agreement from any further legal action. And so essentially what he's trying to do is get this case thrown out on a technicality here.
The Polish authorities have signed 3 major contracts to construct a $400 million barrier along part of the border with Belarus. The decision to build the fence followed a surge in migrants trying to enter illegally from Belarus. The barrier will be equipped with cameras and motion sensors. The authorities in Saudi Arabia say they suspect an explosion that destroyed a French support truck at the Paris-Dakar rally may have been a terror attack. The blast on Thursday left the rally driver, Philippe Boutron, with serious leg injuries. This report from Mike Thompson.
The explosion happened soon after the French Sodacar's support vehicle left the team's hotel in Jeddah en route to the start of the race stage. The blast blew a hole through the seat where driver Philippe Boutron had been sitting. Mr. Boutron, who was scheduled to compete in his 9th rally, suffered serious leg injuries and has undergone surgery at a local military hospital. While Saudi authorities investigate suspected terrorist links to the blast, the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs has urged its citizens there to exercise maximum vigilance.
World News from the BBC. The United States, Norway, Britain and the EU have warned the Sudanese military against appointing their own Prime Minister, saying it would risk plunging the nation into conflict. The former Prime Minister, Abdullah Hamdok, resigned on Sunday amid political deadlock and widespread protests resulting from October's military coup. South African investigators have handed over the first instalment of a long-awaited report on corruption at the heart of the state under former President Jacob Zuma. Receiving the report, the current President, Cyril Ramaphosa, said it was a watershed moment in the fight to end state corruption, which he said had caused a devastating loss of confidence in the country's leaders. Dozens of Guatemalan soldiers and police officers have withdrawn from an area where residents from rival villages killed each other last month. On Sunday, the security forces were attacked by local people in the village of Nahuala. Here's our Americas editor, Leonardo Rocha.
The authorities said the decision to pull out was aimed at avoiding further violence. They said leaders of the indigenous communities involved in a century-old land dispute asked them to leave, having promised to keep the situation under control. The move has been criticized in Guatemala and described as a sign of government weakness. 2 weeks ago, President Alejandro Yamatei declared a state of siege in the region following the deaths of at least 13 people in a clash between the two neighboring villages. The restrictions will remain in place for at least another 2 weeks, but it's unlikely they will be enforced.
A dog in Croatia has been credited with saving the life of an injured hiker by keeping him warm for 13 hours until he was rescued. Garga Barkic fell while out hiking in the Velebit mountain range and was unable to move. The dog lay on top of Mr. Barkic until rescuers arrived. BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
Planning to watch TV or listen to the radio or just enjoy a lime? Then grab a bucket of KFC finger-licking good chicken and enjoy the exciting taste of KFC and their branches on Vicinjan Road, Mandela Avenue, Regent Street, Ink Street, Stabrook Square, Breedenhoop, Parika, Movie Town, or now at the Amazonia Mall at Providence. Now open from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. You'll always be enjoying the great taste of KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
Now, a recap of the highlights. Healthcare workers are among those infected by the coronavirus, but the health minister says there's a standby plan. 2 minors who were killed on Christmas Eve Day have been buried by police. Regionally, Brazil's president is recovering from another intestinal blockage. Antigua and Barbuda's national insurance scheme has increased its contribution rate. And internationally, United States President Joe Biden says booster shots work. That's the end of the news, which came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.